are settling as Bunbury behind the ball with
That puts us at 82, 49, and 8 on the season, hitting at a 62.5% clip.
Back-to-back golden boots. That's 3 in a row for me. 3 too, man. Like, not a dime. That's called being for the people.
It's over! The Columbus Crew, 2023 MLS Cup champions!
All right. Here we are, and we are back. This, of course, is the MLS Live podcast on Sports Prophet TV. I am Sports Prophet Cooper, and with me, as always, is my good co-host Garrett. How we doing, buddy?
Good, man. Good. Get back to winning ways last show, which was nice. Even profited on the international slate, the light slate with only about 6 matchups. So feeling good.
Yeah, really solid week before the break, obviously, and then dealing with international break and all the shenanigans that have that come with that type of deal. But yeah, it's been good. We're going to talk right off the bat, kind of where we sit now, because we are now coming down the home stretch, 5 or 6 match days left, depending on which club, obviously. But I mean, playoffs are almost here. And there, some spots are pretty much locked up, and others aren't. Eastern Conference going to be really hard to catch Miami, obviously, and it's been very impressive, considering Messi's been hurt for a little while. You look right there at the 8-9 spot, and 8, 9, 10, 11. Atlanta or Philly, I mean, they are live to steal one of those play-in spots from Toronto or DC. How do we see that kind of toss-up zone there on the playoff line playing out? You think it's going to be Toronto, DC, or you like somebody else?
I think I've been pretty adamant that I don't think Toronto's a playoff team, and I've said that like throughout the season, even though they got off to a really hot start.
Right.
I think DC United makes it in. When you're picking up road wins like they are, you're going to just find your way in. And when you're talking about top 9, it is surprising to see Philly so low still. Like, you think they'd make a run? New England, I think, is starting to try to get some stuff together. They could make a run. You got so Toronto has like 6 games left, and everyone else has either 7 or 8 games left, right? So it's definitely not in Toronto's favor right now. If you were like taking odds, I think. I think Toronto falls out, and then somewhere between Atlanta, Philly, and New England, at least one of those probably makes it in. But yeah, the rest of this I think is shaking out. I think as expected. New York City is kind of surprising for them to be where they are. I think with that team being so young, I talked about how I didn't think they would really do it this season with it just being so young. But Orlando, I think, was expected to be there. Columbus, Cincinnati, Miami, of course. Charlotte, we had a big preseason future on them making the playoffs. That's looking good right now. I think the East is shaking out like we thought. Except I think maybe we wondered if it would be a little more competitive, because at the start of the season it was just a log jam up top, and now Miami's just weathered the storm and ran away. And I think it's pretty obvious that the supporter shield is theirs, which historically doesn't bode well for them winning the playoffs, right? But this Miami team is something we haven't seen before, so I don't know if trends actually apply to them.
Graham in the chat says, I can't wear my Insignia anymore. I was so pumped when Toronto initially grabbed them. What a disappointment. I'll push back a little bit on that. This year when he's been on the field, he's definitely been really, but I get it. For the money, yes, I understand where you're coming from. But they have been definitely a better team when he's been on the field this year. You can't really argue
that. I hear him, and I want to be like, I agree. Like, you want to see it's for what you're paying for Insigne, it's not enough. Like, what he's doing is not enough. But that team is also just so poorly built. It's not a good roster.
Right.
I fully expect Bernadeschi to try to get a move in the offseason. He picked up a new agent, And so would not be surprised if he tried to get a move back to Europe in the winter. We'll see how that goes. So this might be like if Toronto doesn't make the playoffs this season, I think they gotta like really look hard and rip out some of the guts of that team and try to rebuild.
All right, so here's my prediction for that bubble right there. I'm with you. I like DC. I don't like Atlanta. I think that team is clearly rebuilding for next season. I mean, as clear as any team in Major League Soccer, right? I don't really love Philadelphia. Look, I mean, obviously Philadelphia is more likely to get in probability wise than the odds right now, but I actually kind of like Chicago to go on a crazy run and potentially battle and have a chance to sneak in there just because of their schedule. I know, I get it, but I look at their schedule. I look at the form they were in Leagues Cup. Obviously, that's tailed off a bit, but again, I think they're a better team without Shaqiri. They know who they are now, and they've got home game against New York Red Bull. That's not going to be easy, but it's a home game.
They're not winning that.
Then they've got Nashville twice.
They'll win that one.
They got them twice. They got Toronto at home. They got Montreal, and they got Charlotte. So if they can win 4 games, that's 12 points.
I think 9 points is the most they can get out of that stretch. Like 9 is the ceiling.
And I get it. I mean,
yeah, man. I don't.
That's more of a fun take. I mean, I'm not, laying money on that. I don't believe in a lot of those teams there on the bubble, and I'm not saying Chicago's a team that you really want to go believe in and go crazy about, but just kind of a, if I had to pick a long shot on the page right there with just a few games left, I like Chicago's schedule, and I don't believe in Atlanta or Toronto.
The long shot for me is definitely New England. They're just a better side than Chicago, even for as poorly as their season has been. They have better players. It's a better roster. Yeah, the schedule isn't as kind as Chicago's, but I mean, like I said, I don't. Yeah, that's why I think it's more likely going to be Atlanta United or Philly, just because of where they already at in the points, right?
Yeah.
Like they're just either side is going to be limping across the line, but I think one of them limp.
Yeah, and what's crazy, and obviously, you look at the top of the East, right? Columbus being 10 points off of Miami, and Columbus is you could make a case that they're the best Major League Soccer team this year. So, and that has a lot to do.
It's CONCACAF.
Yeah, it's CONCACAF, right?
That's making a run to the CONCACAF finals. That's also making a run in Leagues Cup. Like it is amazing where they are considering what they've been competing for this season.
They're so good. Yeah, they're awesome. All right, moving on to the West. Man, I mean, you can't ignore it. Galaxy and LAFC right there at the top with El Trafico looming this Saturday. The rivalry just continues to get better. It continues to be more and more fun, and the stakes are as high as they could possibly be for this one. So that's going to be a blast. You look at the playoff line here as well. This one's a little more like, Portland would have to kind of blow it. Portland, Houston would kind of have to blow their positions. But Minnesota is just hanging on by a thread. FC Dallas and Austin both have 34 points. It's really just those three. I mean, Sporting KC, St. Louis, San Jose.
I think it shakes out exactly like it is. I don't
So
think
do I.
you see any more movement.
So do I.
I don't think Dallas has enough to lap Minnesota. Minnesota hasn't even gotten their DP10 out on the field yet. That team will be better down the stretch here. The only team that I would think I would like to be a dark horse would be St. Louis, but they've only got 6 games left. They just don't have enough games to make up the point difference here. Even with an easy schedule, like St. Louis has one of the easiest schedules remaining in MLS. I said that in my pick thread last weekend. And so I'll like them in a lot of games going forward, but there's 6 games left. You just don't have enough. You don't have enough to be able to catch guys. I mean, you'd have to win out, get 18 points, and then, which I don't think they'll win out per se, and then just hope some stuff falls your way. It's a shame how that season's gone.
Yeah,
Because they've built a nice team now.
they have.
Not considering the back line. There's some issues in the back line, but in midfield and in attack, they're going to be, if they keep everyone together next season, one of the most technically sound teams in the MLS.
It's been a bizarre year for St. Louis with all the injuries and it's funny because I actually like the team that St. Louis City has right now, this minute, better than the team they had last season, which had no issue making the playoffs, right? So, kind of weird to see to look down at the bottom of the table and see them so low. But yeah, I'm with you with Minnesota. I actually don't think Minnesota is a bad team at all. I think they are a playoff team, and getting Yaboa and like you said, the 10 that they just went and got it hasn't even debuted yet. So I think that team could potentially make some noise in a wide open Western Conference playoffs. Obviously, LAFC is really strong there at the top, but everybody else I think is beatable. So, all right, let's get into it though. We've got match week 31. And we're giving out picks. We're looking to build on a great week. Obviously not last week, but last episode before the break went very well. And you're starting us off with the Hell is Real game.
Yeah, and a 2-unit play here.
Let's go.
So, yep, Hell is Real Derby, FC Cincinnati hosting the Columbus Crew. And I'm going to take the over 3 here, and I'm going to eat the juice at -140. Yeah, so I don't know what the -118, but I'm just taking it at -140 here.
I think so.
And so you've got 9 of the last 10 of these games. This Hell is Real matchup has seen 3 or more goals. Now Cincy has surprisingly been a top 4 defense at home in terms of expected goals against, but Robinson and Murphy, 2 starting center backs, are suspended for this one. Miazga is done for the season. He's been hurt for a while. And this team routinely plays 3 at the back. So now we're extremely thin on the back line. I expect some combination of Wazim, Keller, Halsey, maybe even Hadibi, who they just picked up from Turkey, the longtime Houston Dynamo center back, went and played a season, half a season or so in Turkey, was a free agent since he picked him up. I think he might actually be the best out of that group. But outside of 2 international windows, including the one that just wrapped up, he hasn't played since late May. Like he hasn't played since the Turkey season wrapped up last season. So now I've got a depleted back line hosting the second best road attack in the Columbus Crew. That's a Columbus side that might be a little angry based off of roster rules that left them to be they gave them a disastrous scenario last time out where they got a red card on their goalkeeper, did not have a goalkeeper to replace him, and played a man down with a center back in the goal and lost 4-0 to Seattle. There's been a lot of commotion around that scenario and why it came to pass. I won't get into it here, but yeah, Columbus is probably a little angry. I do think both teams to score comes home here, as it has in almost 70% of the road games for the Crew this season. So if you want both teams to score plus over 2.5, I'm fine with it, but it is more juice. Like you're going to eat more juice than the over 3. So that's just based on your risk tolerance. I'm going a little more conservative here, just taking the full 3 at -140 because that's right around where I, make my cutoffs for juice. And we'll just hope for 4 or more goals. But I see a lot of goals here. The Crew could absolutely abuse this back line for Cincy. Cincy are always good to score here. That they've been looking good, especially at home. This is just going to be a fun game. This should be just a fun game for the casual fan to watch.
Yeah, so just kind of an interesting nugget for this one. Obviously, Russell Rowe, Cucho, Farsi were out for the last game. And so, you expect all those guys back for this one, but kind of weird. The Campeones Cup, which is, it's a money grab game, obviously between MX and MLS. I think this is right, is like scheduled for the day after this game. It's like, first of all, is that correct? Is my first question, and then second of all, no way Columbus rotates here down
That
the
was
home
moved.
stretch, huh?
That was moved to the 25th.
Okay, cool. That's not that it would have mattered because I don't,
They had to. A lot of that got changed around. Like, so they weren't. Columbus wasn't supposed to play this last weekend. They had opted out to not play during the international break because they knew they'd have guys away. This was a makeup game from earlier in the year where Crew in Seattle got rained out, so they had to play this past weekend. So them having to play this past weekend mixed up the schedule a little bit, and so yeah, that Campeones Cup is September 25th now.
Okay, fair. I mean, like I said, it wouldn't have mattered to me because they're not rotating for uh, this one to Campeones Cup doesn't really mean anything. But yeah, I like it. I mean, I'm on board with pretty much everything you said. Again, we're going to continue to attack the issues at the back for Cincinnati, and Cincinnati attack has been great at home all year, and their attack has been great everywhere all year. I mean, this attack will be great on Mars. So I like it over 3. Another 2 units have been good to us once again this season. So that's a solid look. And I'm with you on both teams to score. I think both teams to score is a fine parlay piece for anybody looking for one.
Yeah, I would have loved just being able to play both teams to score plus over 2.5 here and not have to sweat, an extra goal.
Yeah.
But the juice is just not going to allow me to play that.
All right. First one for me. Yeah, I'm going with the home team on this one. DC United, draw no bet or PK. I think that we're getting close to playoff time. You've got to look at motives. You got to look at spots. This is a DC United spot for me. NYCFC, obviously they've been a solid team this year. They're they're sitting 5th in the East right now, and they deserve it. Nothing really lucky about their season so far. They've been solid, but DC United, I mean, they've been in great form, dating back to really before Leagues Cup. They've won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of their last 8. Yeah, they won 6 out of their last 8, so they're in great form. Again, this for me is just a DC spot. I'm always, not gonna love like multiple unit love DC, on the money line or something like that, just because of their defensive issues that they've had. But this is a draw no bet, so a little added protection there. And a big game like this, NYC's form is dipped up just a bit. They've had a couple of games where they've allowed a lot of goals, and Benteke's in great form. DC's in great form. They're at home. Got the push protection on the draw. I think this is a DC spot for me.
It's an interesting spot because DC is not great at home. NYC aren't great on the road. It's kind of like what gives here.
Well,
I
this
will
year
point out that, huh?
I mean, this year they're not great at home, but historically they are.
No, yeah. But I'm just going by what the recent data. Now, Klitsch is suspended for this one.
Yeah.
So just making sure that everyone's aware of that, which is it is an important loss for DC. I don't know what to make of this team. I remember looking over the slate and so DC just had 2 big road wins, right? Like those are massive for those guys. And I looked at the spot and I was like, this would be a very DC United spot to lose. Like you have 2 big road wins and then you come home and lose to a inexperienced NYC side that doesn't do well on the road. This is a spot that DC United have to win. I will say yes, 100% the draw no bet protection. Like I don't want that money line. If they drew here, I would not be super surprised, just because it's DC United, right? But yeah, I would, if I gun to my head, have to lean home team here.
Cool. All right, we keep it moving. Going to Houston.
Yes. So I'm playing an under. I know unders aren't fun, but they can be profitable. Got Houston Dynamo hosting the Real Salt Lake, and we're playing the under 3. And again, I'm going to eat more juice here to get the hard 3. I'm just legitimately shocked. They're letting the full 3 be playable here. In 2 games since Gomez was sold, RSL haven't hit the over. Arango looks to still be dealing with a hamstring issue, and I haven't seen like really any positive updates since he was hurt in late August. So both are big losses for the attack. And then you have the Houston Dynamo, whose home games have had 3 or less goals in 85% of them this season. They have the second best home defense in the league with an expected goal against of 11.14 through 13 games. So less than 1 goal, 1 expected goal against in home matches. So even at the juice, this just feels like relatively straightforward for me as far as narratives go. There's even ever since Gomez got sold, they're still hanging RSL totals. Like because it's in Houston, you get the 3. If it was somewhere else, you'd be looking at 3.25, maybe even leaning more to the 3.5. And so yeah, they just haven't adjusted to the RSL attack right now. It just isn't great. And so yeah, I'll eat the juice and take the under 3 and get some push protection here.
Yeah, I think this was a kind of a standard, copy and paste type line for this matchup and probably what it would have been earlier in the year. I would have had really no issue with like a 2.75 if this was, again, you still had Gomez and healthy Cucho and all that stuff. And even then, anytime Houston's at home, like an under is going to be a decent look for the most part, right? So
85%, man, like their home games haven't had more than 3 goals in 85% of them this season. That's a stat.
Yeah, and it's been like that. It's been like that for a minute under Olsen, the head coach there. He's just kind of what he does, especially at home. But I like it. Man, who would have thought Gomez? I mean, like what at the beginning of the year and then to now, like his journey and what a loss for that team. I mean, he was electric this season. So.
It was so good, and like they had to pull that trigger, man. When that offer came in, you had to jump on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, no issues. I mean, taking that, you flipped the guy that you were paying like $80,000 a year or something for a massive amount. So, no issue there. That's just good business. But
it was good business, but it's very clear they were not prepared to let him go in this window. I think it was more of, we'll sell him and keep him on loan or something to the winter. And League One was like, nah, we want him right now.
Right. Can't blame him. Is he Ecuadorian? I'm trying to remember.
I'll look at that while if you've got another play to toss out.
Yep, got it. All right. Going to a team that has not treated me well this season. And here I am going back to him. Seattle Sounders at home against Sporting KC. I'm keeping this one pretty simple. Eating a little bit of juice here. I don't really like -1s with Seattle because they can always win 1-0. Like 1-0 is always on the cards for the Seattle team. I also don't love this Seattle team. We've talked about it quite a bit. I'm just at the point in the season where we know who they are. We know who the teams are. And I'm at the point where I want to fade teams that have their focus elsewhere. Sporting KC is one of those teams again that playoffs are probably out of reach for KC. They're on the road. The one thing that they do have is an opportunity in the U.S. Open Cup, which is still 3 matches away, right? But you can say whatever. Yes, they're professionals, and yeah, they're. It's not that they're going to show up and not try, but hey, 5% different in preparation, effort, whatever. We see that be a massive deal at the highest level. So I think Sporting KC, their season at this point is focused on the U.S. Open Cup. They've got LAFC in the final couple of weeks from now, and on the other side of things, Seattle actually doesn't look bad. Like, I'm not saying that I'm in love with this team, but they looked pretty strong in Leagues Cup, and they are in good form, and they've got some things going their way. So, and Sporting KC, like if anybody were to score, get multiple score multiple goals, or allow Seattle to score multiple goals on them, it's probably Sporting KC. So, keeping it simple, a little bit juicy, but posting it for the show. So,
Yeah, I know that. Oh man, why am I blanking right now on the midfielder? I know he's hurt for Seattle. Zhao. He'll be out a couple of weeks.
he hasn't been normal João Paulo this year anyway.
Oh no, I mean, father time is undefeated, but he's still a big part of that squad. He does help keep that midfield organized and such. I the pride, I get it. Like, yeah, this is a Seattle spot. Kansas City are terrible on the road. I don't know if I would say Seattle have looked great recently. Take the LAFC games aside, just because LAFC destroys them. I mean, losing to Portland in that rivalry definitely hurt. And then I don't know if they score if Columbus doesn't get that red card, right? Like, even with the third string goalie, they were not offering much before then. And then of course the red card comes, Zawada takes in the net, and then it goes downhill from there. If it's me, I would parlay this with something that I like, just because I do not want to eat this much juice on a Seattle side that I personally don't believe in. But I'm not gonna fault anyone for fading Kansas City. My only concern is, and maybe we're still not there yet with Kansas City, where you're right, they're focusing on the Open Cup, probably not making the playoffs, but an animal cornered is always a little more dangerous. And I think the coach is definitely coaching for his job to end the season. Like, he probably has to end it strong, or else that long tenure probably comes to an end. So it's just interesting to see how Kansas City's season unfolds from here going forward. Especially if they don't win the Open Cup. That's going to be interesting. But no, this is a Seattle spot. Seattle have only lost 2 games at home all season. Yeah, I would parlay it with something else that I like a lot, but it is a Seattle spot.
I will say though, you got to give Seattle some credit. They've scored 2 or more goals in 12 of their last 17 games. So, attack a little bit better than it was at the beginning of the season, mid-season. And, we're still talking traveling to the West Coast with a West Coast advantage. So
They've scored 2 or more?
Seattle has scored 2 goals or more in like 12 of their last 17.
Oh, okay.
Yippers. But yeah, no, and if you, again, this is one you want to throw in a parlay, I'm totally cool with that too. And I almost, like, the only reason I didn't combo play this with like over 1.5 or under 4.5 is because, Sporting KC's backline and their defensive situation is just abysmal. I could see a variety of results, but I think Seattle gets it done. All right, on to our last 2. Before we get into it, make sure you guys are liking the video, and obviously subscribe to the channel as well, so you never miss a show. We've got College Football Capital on Mondays during college football season. It's a show where basically the lines haven't moved a whole lot on Monday, so we're giving out some early looks and leans. The very important NFL show with Sosa on Tuesdays. Make sure you tune in for that, and then obviously our flagship show here on Sports Prophet TV, which is the MLS Live podcast.
So we'll jump in here as we got St. Louis hosting Minnesota United. And I think there's a lot of ways this could go, but with St. Louis being at home, I'm going to take their team total over 1.5. And again, unfortunately, just having to eat more juice. It's a juicy show, but kind of like what we said last show. I'm risking it for the biscuit here. It's the same thing with this show. There spots that I've liked. I've monitored these spots all week. And the lines have moved a little bit from when I first circled them, but they're still within my play range where I'm comfortable with them in my risk tolerance. And so I'm going to keep firing here. But yeah, St. Louis team total over 1.5 versus a Minnesota defense that has averaged almost 2 expected goals against per game on the road. St. Louis have covered this team total in 4 of their last 5 home games, all against teams that we know who can leak, right? Dallas, San Jose, Portland has a tendency to leak. Galaxy for sure have a tendency to leak. Minnesota's defense is worse than all of those except Dallas. And as I said in my thread for the games last weekend, the Germans are coming, right? Like I really, really like the guys that St. Louis has brought in to build around this team. Again, like they're going to play technically sound ball and actually move the ball, I think, much better than a lot of other teams in the MLS from this point to the end of the season and then rolling into next season if they keep everyone together. I do like Minnesota's attack. Laud was playing at an MVP level earlier in the season. Yeboah has looked dangerous in his first 2 games.
Yep.
Pereira should debut. I expect him to debut, the DP10. So they definitely have guys who can contribute. So if you're looking at the over or any other angle on goals, I get it and I like it. But the St. Louis team total is my favorite way to play this game here.
Yeah, I really like how Minnesota has looked the last couple of matches as well with some of those additions, and I really like how St. Louis City has looked. In fact, we cashed on the St. Louis City team total over 1.5 on our last show. So yeah, they look good. If they're going to have any chance at all, they've got to go on a run, and so they're going to be letting it rip here. And Minnesota is they've looked susceptible, pretty much almost all the season, defensively. But what's his name? Boxall, their center back. To me, just not great back there.
I mean, the New Zealand center back who got a 1-1 result against the USA.
Lord have mercy. God help us. Unbelievable, dude. I mean,
I'm just going to say it here for the record. Poch ain't saving this side. No matter what I think about Poch, he's probably the best coach the United States men's team has ever had. And he's not saving this side. So
saving us to what degree?
Dude, I mean, group play is in question in 26. Like, you can go ahead and put the big question mark on that.
Really?
Like, yeah. We don't have any competitive. Okay, we'll just go on this tangent for a second.
Tyler Adams is a competitor.
We don't have any competitive matches outside of CONCACAF until the World Cup. That's why Copa was so important, and they botched it. So there are no leaders on this team. I think it's clear there are 0 leaders. You look at, I've read this interesting stat today. Since Reyna and Musa debuted 4 years ago, no one else has broken into the national team side younger than them.
Wow.
So like, we don't have anybody coming up to like take the reins right now, right? Pulisic, I think Pulisic's a great player. He's not a leader like that. And so he's going to lead in his own way, but he's never going to give the people what they want, I guess I should say, in like a leader. It should be Tyler Adams. Adams is going along with the flow though, like, right? He was part of the crew that wanted to keep Berhalter around, and then he's part of the crew that demanding change after Copa.
I still don't believe that. I still don't believe it.
He's said as such in his interviews.
No, I get that. But when you're on a team and that's the message that everybody is deciding is going to be the message, it just becomes a big group thought, right? I mean, it's
but I don't think it was a team-wide message, because you've seen guys get ostracized out of that team. Like that's been a thing with Berhalter.
Yeah, and then never get to play again because they spoke out against. Yeah.
So yeah, I no matter what I think about Poch, I don't think he's saving this side. Like, this side is just not what we thought it was going to be. And I think we can say that after seeing it for years. Because outside of CONCACAF, they just can't do anything. But enough about the US team. We'll dive back because we got one more 2-unit play.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So I do love my two-leggers. They are growing on me throughout the season. And so we've got a 2-unit two-legger here. And we're going to start with Rapids team total over 1.5 as they host the Portland Timbers. And we're going to combine that with El Trafico, LAFC versus LA Galaxy, full game over 2.5 for a nice plus 130 or so.
Nice.
So we'll start with Colorado, where this team total has hit in 6 of the last 7 home games, but I'm not even sure how much weight I'd put on that as they haven't played at home since July 20th. So it's been almost 60 days since they were last at home. And that's actually more why I love this spot than even their recent home form, right? It should be a really good atmosphere for the players. And this Rapid side is technically the best attacking side in MLS in terms of expected goals. So I actually think the atmosphere, like it's going to be pretty rowdy atmosphere. You've got the Rapids who haven't been in the playoffs for the past 2 seasons, sitting fourth right now, right? With a great attack, an attack that's like entertaining that you want to watch. Portland's defense isn't terrible from an analytical standpoint, but as of late, it's been rough on the road. Their last 3 league games away have been 3-2 loss to Dallas, 3-2 loss to Galaxy, 3-1 loss to St. Louis. So they're going to give Colorado opportunities. And when you do that against one of the best attacking sides in the league, you're probably going to get hurt. So I love the team total over 1.5. Now to get into El Trafico, right? It's my favorite match every season. Anyone who's watched this show for any length amount of time probably knows that. And we've talked about the trend that we see consistently with this. But we'll just state it here for the record again. In their last 23 head-to-head matches, we've only seen 5 times where there's been fewer than 3 goals. Now, I'm not a big head-to-head guy, like by any means, and that's a stat. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when you toss that out, like that sticks. So we have the number 2 and the number 3 attacks in the league facing off, right? Puig is in, which means chances created, but he's also going to turn the ball over. I've harped on that quite a bit this season. Joveljic came off the bench in the last match on September 1st. So he's healthy again. I would not be shocked to see him start this one. Paintsil is suspended. And Paintsil being out is a blow, but he's been in rather poorish form since like the end of League's Cup.
That's because he's been playing striker.
Possible, yeah, true. But Peck, on the other hand, is literally a man on fire. And he actually looks like the better deal between the 2 DPs right now. I still love Paintsil. Like, don't get me wrong. You can get in a rut and I can still be a fan of you. But Peck is NBA Jam rules right now, is how they call it, right? Like he's on fire. You've got Roos, who has a goal and an assist through 2 games. And we all know the star power on LFC side with Giroud and the Golden Boot candidate in Bouanga. LFC also just lost Murillo, their starting center back, to a knee injury. So this just sets up well with the number 1 seed being in play in the Western Conference, as you've got Galaxy with a 4-point lead, but LFC with 2 games in hand. This just feels like it could be one of the better El Traficos. And like that, it feels almost like a hot take because there's been so many good ones, right? But this one feels ripe for goals. And so when I put these 2 together, I get a nice plus 130. And yeah, I'm going for 2 units here.
Yeah, I'm with you. First of all, Colorado money line was actually on my short list. Almost made the show because it's still plus money, which I think Colorado is the side in that one. El Trafico. I'll just put it this way: it's college football season. College football is kind of my bread and butter. And at 9:30 p.m. on Saturday night, this game will be on my main screen. This is going to be on the big one, right? Because that's what this is. El Trafico, I mean, it's the best in Major League Soccer. Really not even that close as far as the derbies are concerned. Also, Galaxy is getting Puig back from suspension, I believe, which is
Puig is in.
Yep. So,
which I think actually helps for goals, right? Because we've talked about how he creates chances, but also turns the ball over. You've got LAFC on the road, so they're going to be looking to counter. So that Galaxy could just play into LAFC's hands here in terms of how they want to play. But I will point out, I read a fun stat where like Puig has not created a single chance in his last 3 games versus LAFC.
That's interesting.
So like it stood out, right? And he's definitely going to have to break that rut if Galaxy want to win this one. But no, man, this is just set up so good for goals, in my opinion, just between all the talent that's out there, how these teams are going to play. I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah, so we had a chance to see Marco Reus and Puig on the field together against Atlanta at home, and it was great. I mean, they had some really nice 1-2s back and forth with each other. I think Royce may have set up. I'm not sure if he set up Puig, but anyway, they looked great out there. Peck has just been an awesome DP signing. And the big thing for me, you know how I feel about Galaxy's attack. I want Joveljic up top. It's not because Joveljic is like the best striker in the world. It's because he's a striker, and they need a striker.
Because he is a 9,
yes.
And they don't have one otherwise.
Exactly. So, and then LAFC, you know, they've got their guy, Giroud's there, and they've got a couple other guys like Tillman's back and healthy, and O'Brien's, looking more fit, and this should be El Trafico. I mean, there's really enough said. Love the plus 131 on this one, and I think both of these are really strong spots. So, looks great.
And Peck is plus 190 to score right now. Giroud is plus 145 to score right now.
Ooh,
I'm gonna have to sprinkle both of those, I think.
Those are both nice. If Joveljic starts, give me some Joveljic action as well, depending on the price.
Plus 145 for Joveljic.
Okay. I think I'd rather have Peck, given the price. But we did the thing, and we gave out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 official MLS Live podcast show picks.
6 picks, two units, so plenty of risk out there. Hoping to pull in plenty of reward as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome, man. Again, I know I mentioned earlier, this is kind of our biggest show, and so if you're watching the show and you didn't know, if you like American football, college football, NFL, we've got college football show on Monday, NFL show on Tuesday. So definitely, and those have already been recorded, so jump over there and check those out. Lots of playable lines still out there, so it's good stuff. As always, we really appreciate you guys tuning in. Obviously we had a little break, but we're back, and we've got plenty of episodes left in the season, because once the regular season ends, we've got playoffs, and we will definitely cover those with the same amount of vigor as we have covered the entire regular season. So,
and it's winding down. We got six games, 6 match weeks left, basically 6 or 7, depending on the team. So we're getting close to the end. It's time to really pull in that profit and finish off the season strong. But yeah, same thing. Thanks as always to your support. We absolutely appreciate it. And again, best of luck to whatever you're on this weekend.
We'll see you guys next week.